Nah, this top, man, every time I go through anything, ref put me in. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I've been putting off filming this video. I think I've had this video in the works for a few weeks. But I've just been putting off making it. I couldn't even tell you why. I think it's just because everything relative to this has been kind of fresh. Today I'm kind of talking about my first relationship, which ended a few months ago, things that I've learned from it and how I'm moving forward. We met back in October. I think late October. We met on Hinge. Yes. And actually just before I deleted Hinge because I just wasn't getting anything successful, I actually added my ex-boyfriend. And so we were speaking for a month, and then we decided to have a first date, and we would speak every single day. It was really nice actually, because I hadn't had a friendship or anything like that I spoke every single day to, or someone that I spoke every day to. And it actually began when I went to lunch with my aunt, and she was like, "What's your love life saying?" And I'm like, "My love life saying nothing. I'm not really trying to date." And I think I was also mindful that I was going to university this year, so I didn't really want to get into anything serious just before I go to university. Not that I wouldn't be loyal or anything, just because I didn't want to feel like my experiences would change because I was in a relationship. Honestly, to make a really long story short, because it is a long story, 7 months later, we kind of call it quits. And I think I realized it was going downhill around my birthday, my favorite time of the year. So I was kind of like, oh, does this have to happen right now? Just shush. But yeah, he was meeting my family for the first time. And that same day, it's he kind of just told me oh, we're not even in a relationship, because we had decided to kind of be on a break, but I thought we were still in a relationship. You're meeting some of the most important people in my family. So I was kind of oh, yeah, not gonna lie, you're not gonna ruin this day for me. Because my birthday, I absolutely love my birthday. I was like, you're not gonna ruin this day for me. And he left a few hours later, and it was just kind of weird. So I was just like, okay, it seems very vague, and I'm not giving you everything, but basically throughout our relationship, he would say, I think it was after a month of us kind of being together, he was like, "I don't think I'm in the space to be in a relationship." Okay, queen. I was like, oh, I don't want to hear that. But I said to him, we've only been in a relationship for a month. I think we should have more time together. And so he was like, yeah, sure. And that was in November. And then February, he says the same shit again. I'm just like, girl, lock in. But I was just like, yeah, I really wanted us to be long term. And during our relationship, I would try and have conversations with him and be like, how can we what's our long term goals? Because that was when we were hitting 4 months. And to be honest, when I say long term, I was like, I'm excited for the new year, things that we want to do together, because we both live in London currently. So I was just like, where can we go? Things we can see and do. And so one day he came over to my house, and I was just like, we don't have any boundaries in our relationship. What are your kind of boundaries? These are my kind of boundaries. Let's have this conversation. And he did not want to have this conversation at all. And I was just like, red flag number 12. But he didn't want to have that conversation at all. And I was like, oh, damn, that's crazy. And I think I should have known then. I think there are a lot of moments in our relationship where I was just like, I should have known. But I think because it was my first relationship, and also I think I had the mentality of not necessarily being naive, but rather just being open-minded to of course there'll be ups and downs. We're both teenagers, we're both figuring life out. He's in his last year of uni. He's actually not from London, so I think I also wanted to work out the logistics of that. Okay, will I come up to see you from where he's from, and will he come down to see me? What do you want to do? Stuff like that. And I just don't think he wants to have those conversations. even though I was very dead set back then and even now, like, I don't want to casually date, and I don't want I literally have sworn, like, I'm never doing a situationship, like, ever. I'm not built for that, because I'm very much an all or nothing person, whether, like, it's very, like, nothing's happening, or, like, I give you all my love. And so I think I was the all when I was with him, and he was the nothing. He was the nothing. So I think this is less about the actual relationship, but more so the takeaways from the relationship. I think a few things bothered me in our relationship that I was very vocal about. I never just kept it to myself, because why would I do that? He followed a lot of girls on Instagram, which, this is such a controversial thing to talk about because it feels so trivial. But I'm just like, who are these girls? And some of them were his friends. And I was just like, okay, cool. Of course, I'm not going to tell you to get rid of your friends. Duh. But I think he just followed a lot of girls who posted a lot of, like, suggestive things. And this isn't an attack on them, of course. Like, it's their Instagram. Of course, I'm not going to tell you, oh, don't post that because my boyfriend follows you. I think it was more so like, oh, like, is she a friend? And he was like, no. And I was just like, oh, do you need to follow her? And I think what made me laugh even more, I'm just like, damn, these girls don't even follow you back. Like, yeah, so I expressed how I felt about that. I also was just like, in our relationship, he would go out a lot. He would go on nights outs a lot. And personally, that made me uncomfortable because I know what happens in the club. I know what happens when you go out with your friends. Like, hello, I've done that. I do that. Maybe it's my homebody coming out. Like, I'm a really big homebody. Like, I love staying home, but I also do like a cheeky night out. I do like to have a drink. He did that a lot. And a lot of his friends are girls. And that, like, when he first told me that, because that wasn't new information to me when we, like, later down the line, I knew he had a lot of girlfriends before me. And I don't think he ever saw how strict I actually was. I think because it was my first relationship, I was very just like, oh, like, let's have a good time. But I think, honestly, going forward, I would make it a rule, like, any friends that you make before me, like, girlfriends that you make before me, cool, whatever. But, like, respectfully, you didn't need to make any more girlfriends after me. I don't know, maybe that's just me crazy. At first, I found it quite endearing, like, oh, like, you get on with girls. Like, I don't want a guy that only has guy friends and he hates women and, like, wants to kill them or something. I don't know. But I was just like, okay, well, enough is enough. But I felt like there was a lack of reassurance in our relationship where I was just like, that paired with you kind of don't want to be in a relationship, but you still want to have access to me, paired with following all these girls, paired with his responses completely changed as well. Like, we would go, like, texting all the time, like, all day. And we don't have to text all day, but, like, then it started being like, you can go a whole day without speaking to me. What? No, you can't. Like, you should be like, oh my gosh, I missed you. Like, let's speak. And it doesn't even have to be to that extent, but like he just wouldn't text me as much. I'm just like, oh, what am I supposed to think? Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, what's taking up your time? This is another thing, actually. Oh my gosh, I love exposing people. It's not really exposing, but another thing was that when we weren't together, right, he would be like, I'm not even on my phone like that. Like, he's barely on his phone. And then when I would go over to his, bitch, you're on Instagram Reels. Like, you're on your phone a lot, actually. Or not a lot, but like, we'd watch something and then like 2 seconds later, he's on his phone. And I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to go on my phone because I didn't necessarily ask to have this on or whatever. And then he's like, oh, why are you on your phone? I'm just like, bitch, I want to scroll. I think I had to teach myself to not feel insecure and stand grounded in who I was or who I am. And I consider myself, I know I'm quite confident. I know the kind of person that I am. And I know how, humble brag, but I know how magnetic my personality can be, especially when I'm really comfortable with people. And I think the one thing that I valued the most in our relationship was having a strong friendship. Yes, we did meet on Hinge and you know, it was kind of like a month of talking, getting to know each other, stuff like that. But then I think conversation just started feeling really easy. We had a lot of interest as well. Like, we both, like, he studies film and I studied film when I was at college. So we loved, like, we loved watching movies together. We loved going to the cinema. We both loved to eat because, girl, I'm gonna eat. Our humor overlapped a lot. But then we had our differences. We also both loved to read, but like his genre of books would be like fantasy leaning. Mine would be more like romance or like young adult, whatever, even though young adult can be whatever. So there were still differences in us. And I think I emphasized to him, like, I don't just want to be your girlfriend. I want to be your friend. I want to be like one of your best friends. And I think I see it all the time, but I saw it specifically today and I was just like, seeing this TikTok today, I feel like I have to make this video. But it was like this girl, she made a TikTok talking about how in a relationship, it's so important to have friendship, because if you don't love him at the end of the day, at least you still like him. And I think arguments are going to happen in a relationship, disagreements are going to happen, but I don't want it to be the case that I don't even like my boyfriend or I don't even like my partner enough to not even want to like work things out, if that makes sense. And I think I found that to be a common thing where we would have disagreements or arguments, or I would be kind of confronting him about something, like a behavior of his that made me feel uncomfortable, whatever, or not necessarily even uncomfortable, but rather just something that needs to be addressed in our relationship, because I would also want to be pulled up on something, even outside of a romantic relationship. I would want to be pulled up about something that made someone feel uncomfortable or it was a cause for concern. And he definitely took it personally, and it was never a personal attack on his character itself. But he never wanted to have those kind of conversations. And it's quite funny because he never pulled me up about things that I did. And he would say, like, in passing, like, there are things you do that I don't like or would piss me off and stuff like that. And I'm just like, well, but you didn't bring it up. Like, you didn't confront me. It doesn't have to be necessarily that moment, but sooner rather than later. He said it a lot in our relationship that he just couldn't be asked. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie. Being in a relationship isn't just, oh, we're dating, that's it. It's constant work. And of course, like, I think from my side, we were both 19 at the time. Actually, I'm a year younger than him, so he's 20 now. I think you're in university, you're still trying to have your experiences, especially before he like potentially moves back home. Of course, you may not be like, whoa, maybe I don't want to be in a serious relationship. But I think if you have the willpower and if you truly do want to be in a relationship, then you will put that work in. Obviously, I'm going to put my hands up. He did say he didn't want to be in a relationship, so maybe I should have listened. It just felt like he was giving up before like we even started or before we even tried. This is my first relationship. This is like his second serious relationship. And I was ready to put the energy in and the work in. Granted, I was coming from a place where my mental health was in a really good place, and I think it dipped a tiny bit just during the relationship. Just because it is like, it can be mentally taxing when it feels like someone isn't even meeting you halfway. That's my point of view, at least. And I think another thing was, I felt like he wasn't very vocal about how he felt about us, whereas from his point of view, he felt like he was like incredibly vocal. Like, this is the most vocal he's been about things ever. And I think we were just misaligned in that way, where I think my love language, I've always questioned what my love language was, but I think it definitely needs like words of affirmation. Like, I need you to be vocal with me. I need you to tell me exactly what it is that you need, and vice versa. That's why I think that I always wanted to have conversations. But I don't even know what his love language is, but whatever it was, I would have provided that for him. And I think it's not necessarily being at someone's beck and call, but when you love someone so much, you will want to meet their needs. No ask of theirs would have been too big. That was the difference between us, is that he couldn't be asked. Those are his words verbatim. I'm not saying that as an opinion, because I did feel like he was trying, but at the same time, if you're also trying to get your mental health into a space that feels like it's at a good place, then obviously it's going to feel 10 times harder. He wanted to like just be friends, or to be on a break, or to be on a space, but still see me. And I said, that's just not going to work. We're not in a relationship. We can't do relationship things. We can't really go on dates. We can't be intimate, like if I'm honest. And I think he didn't like that. And I think when I started saying stuff like that, I was just thinking to myself, I wouldn't have to say this to someone who wants to be in a relationship with me. And I think another thing that adds on top of that is that he would tell me things that in the moment would feel really reassuring, like, no, you're the one for me, and you know, I couldn't see myself with anyone else, which sounds really cliche and like, oh, you know, stuff like that. But I think I'm really good at sensing people's energy and also people's intentions. However, I feel a bit differently about that now. But I think I'm still really good at like reading people. And I think he was being honest, but I do believe that he didn't have the energy to give that because a lot of things in his life were just so mentally taxing. I think I also was like a little bit drunk in love, which meant that wool could have been pulled over my eyes. And I think initially our intentions for the relationship were two different things. I think my intentions were obviously to be in a relationship, but I think his were a little bit more surface level. That's how I'll say it. And I think I didn't realize that literally until like 3 weeks before we broke up. So yeah. And I think I got to a point where I was just feeling a little bit fed up of going back and forth, where I just felt like I was being misunderstood. And I think he was also being misunderstood because he said that we would come away from conversations where he felt like I heard a different thing. And I think I did apologize for that because, not gonna lie, ignorance is bliss. And if he wasn't saying something that I wasn't liking the sound of, I'm not gonna lie, I did kind of cover my ears a little bit. I think I was a little bit in dreamland, and I think he was a little bit of a realist. And I think I can be a realist, but at the same time, like, I think I'm filled with so much optimism and positivity that no matter what situation came into my life or his life, I was so determined that we would get through it. Like me going to university, him moving back home, me traveling, him traveling to wherever he would be going to. I just felt like if the love between us is strong enough, like, we'll get through it. And so I started to definitely pull back, which he didn't like. And I would say to him, like, well, if that's the case, if you're feeling like this, then maybe I should pull back. Because like I said, I'm kind of like an all or nothing person. And I think as soon as I realized that that's not being reciprocated, my all turns into nothing. So I think after, even before we officially broke up, I already was kind of grieving the end of our relationship because I could feel it coming. And I think it's because he put so much doubt into our relationship as well. Sometimes he would randomly say, like, I just don't think this is gonna last. And me being so like optimistic, I'm just like, damn, you've put a bad taste in my mouth. Like, and I think when you start talking about breaking up, you're gonna break up. You're literally manifesting that for yourself. So I was like, yeah, let's not say that. Let's actually like try and push for this. And I felt like at one point I was the only one pushing, and I felt almost underappreciated in our relationship too, because I would want to see him and he'd be busy, but then he's also going on a night out, and I'm just like, okay. And then he'd spend like a lot of money on his night outs. I don't know, I just remember this one time, I think it was like we hadn't seen each other in like a month. This was after like our initial kind of breakup, giving each other space, whatever. And we had already determined that we're going to see each other on the Saturday or the Sunday, I can't remember. And he said, I spent £200 on a night out. I'm hungover and in a bad mood. Like, come over if you want. And I'm just like, first of all, I don't like when my plans get cancelled last minute. So I said, well, I'm already ready. So bitch, I'm on my way. Already, I was just like, you're already setting up the day for failure, if that makes sense. And I think our mindsets were so different that I am someone who believes that regardless of what I do, things will always work out for me. Whether it's because I do it, whether it's because I have help from a friend or a family member, whether it's because I pray for it, I think things will always work out for me. And I think he was a little bit of a pessimist, where he just felt like, oh, bad things like inevitably are just gonna always happen to him. And I'm just like, well, yes, like bad things do happen. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen to you or that it's personal to you, but these things do happen. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves. So I think he kind of doomed our relationship, not gonna lie. From the first time he said, I just don't think this is going to work. And of course, I want him to be honest, but I think there wasn't honesty met with, I don't know if this will work, but I'm willing to try. It was more so, yeah, my mental health's not in the right place. And then I felt like I had to figure things out for that, like think for the both of us. And I think in a relationship, I very much view a relationship as being a partnership. So I started thinking kind of for the two of us. And I thought, hold on, I'm 18 years old. At the time I was 18. I was like, I'm 18 years old. I'm also, not to put genders on it, I'm also a lady. I'm not making the executive decisions in our relationship. Like, I just won't do it. I don't want to feel like I'm holding space and having to make decisions in people's lives. Like, that is so tiring and so, like, exhausting for me mentally. And I just couldn't do that in a relationship. That's kind of like the ins and outs of our relationship. I will say, though, that when we were having a good time, oh my gosh, were we having a blast. We would have really cute days out. See, like my day out, because I live in London, and if you come to London, all you can do really is like eat. I just remember our Valentine's Day. Stop. Like, this was my first like real Valentine's Day, like with someone. And so I just remember thinking like our Valentine's Day was so lovely. And we went to this like place and he booked it, and I was just like, okay. Like, okay. It was like this like not really arcade, like you can play like games on like an Xbox, PS4 or PS5, and like we tried to play Call of Duty. It was giving us hell. And then we played like, oh my gosh, Mortal Kombat, which was really fun because I really do like Mortal Kombat. And we had some drinks and then we went to eat, and it was honestly a really lovely day. And I think I don't always view that from my point of view as necessarily romantic. Of course, it happened on Valentine's Day, but like it felt like I was with like a really good friend as well. And I think I found value in having that friendship with him to also make it easier when we had like deeper conversations. I'm not actually dating at the moment. I mean, I'm going to New York in like less than a month, so if someone overseas like wants to say hey, but I'm not dating, and I'm also not a casual dater. I do date with the intention of like it being long term, because casual dating honestly sounds like hell. I'm not gonna lie. When you don't do anything with intention, what do you live for? After this 7 months of dating, I still believe in love. Of course I do, like, respect me. But I think I just don't feel ready to. I think I've decided like I don't want to be in a relationship. Like, not at the moment, probably not for a little while. And I think I value, oh my gosh, I sound like a broken record, but I value community and friendship so much that I want to build these friendships and then see what the dating scene is saying for me. I also like know that I'm 19 years old and I have loads of time to find someone, my soulmate hopefully coming in. I look back at our relationship. I can't believe I've gone this whole time without saying his name either. Like, I have absolutely no regrets, and you shouldn't go through life feeling regretful either, because it really takes the fun out of life. My mantra is that do absolutely anything you want to do in life as long as it's not hurting you or anyone else, because there's no harm in that. This is the segment of my video, because I love these videos where I just tell you my life story and then I'm just like, this is what's helped me. Things that helped me come back to myself, become more confident, was recognizing my jealousy. Also just communicating how I felt, because one thing he could never do is come back to me and be like, well, you never said this to me, because actually I said everything to you and still you didn't act on it, and we didn't act on it in our relationship either. Here is actually some tea for you guys. I actually did reach out to him probably about like a month and a half ago, maybe even 2 months ago. I actually sent him a long message, bro, basically like ending things and just saying like, because one of the movies that we watched together, it was still very, I actually miss the early days of our relationship so much. Like, it was so good. I think about it so much, and honestly, it makes me so happy. And I just think I'm so happy that I look back on our relationship and it didn't end really sour, or there weren't like even really sour moments in our relationship either. But it was a day, like, I went over to his and we watched The Notebook for the first time. Bitch, we were crying. We were both crying. And I remember, fast forward to a month ago when I ended things, I remember saying something like, I think our time has kind of come to an end. I think I was kind of growing tired of the back and forth, not understanding where we stood. I felt like things weren't very like clear to me, and that's why I found that he didn't communicate very well to me in that sense, or not to a point where I fully understood and could potentially support him. But I remember saying, like, in my goodbye message, like, I want you to know, like, you were the person that I wanted to marry, which sounds really deep for a 7-month relationship. But some of the conversations that we would have, were just like on another level. Because we could get a little high together. The person I wanted to travel and see the world with. And then there's a scene in The Notebook where Ali and Noah, which is funny because my name's Naya and my ex-boyfriend's name begins with an A, so it felt so, oh my gosh, maybe I'm Delulu, guys, but I said to him, there's a scene in the movie where they lay in the road together, like at nighttime, and like she's like, but what if cars come? And he's like, if cars come, like, we'll get up and run, or they'll run us over. And I told him, like, you were the person I wanted to lie in the middle of the road with.
What?
I just always figured you were kind of
what?
just free.
What?
Free.
I am free.
You don't seem like it.
Well, I am.
Come here, I want to show you something.
What are you doing?
Just come on.
You're gonna get run over.
Buy all the cars? My dad and I used to come out here and lay down, watch the lights change. Watch them go from green to red to yellow. You could try it if you wanted to.
No.
Why not?
Because, I don't know, we just get up.
That's your problem. You know that? You don't do what you want.
Okay. What happens if a car comes?
You die.
What?
Just relax. Just trust. You need to learn how to trust.
Okay.
And then I sent him this song called Skin Tight by Raven Lene and Steve Lacy. Go listen to that song. It actually describes us so well that when I heard it, I was just like, oh, bitch, like, because we would send songs to each other. I was just like, oh, I got to send this to him now. And after I sent that message, he didn't respond. And honestly, I didn't feel any kind of way. It was like some way of closure a little bit, but I didn't do it for a response, but for him to truly know how I felt. And then a week later, it was his birthday. And I messaged him happy birthday because, like, it was an amicable split. It was more so like, I think this is the end of our relationship, and he never thought that we could be just friends because of how much we knew about each other. And so I was just like, it's probably best that we don't see each other. And that same day that I had sent him that message and said, like, I think this is the end, or I think it was the day after, the Friday before, because I sent it on the Saturday, we went to dinner, and immediately I was just like, the energy is just not it. So yeah, he didn't respond, but I did send him a happy birthday message, and I was just like, happy birthday, his name. I hope you have like a love-filled day, because I love saying that to people, because I absolutely love birthdays, which is why when he was trying to like talk some shit about our relationship on my birthday, or like a few days after my birthday when I was celebrating with my family, I was just like, shush. So I said to him, like, I want you to have a love-filled birthday. But I think right now I'm just focusing on the next steps before I get into another relationship, which probably won't be for like a little while. But here's some tea for you guys. So I haven't heard from him in a long time. And so I'm scrolling on TikTok and all these tarot readers is talking about like communication incoming. And I'm just like, whatever, ho. The last time we spoke was when I messaged him happy birthday. Actually, no. The last time we spoke was when I gave him a call one day. Like, it was a few days after his birthday. And I was just like, I would love for us to like restart, like do this again. Like, I think I was in a bad place when I sent the initial like long paragraph. And he was just like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm just trying to heal and move forward. And I was just like, I completely understand, you know what I mean? And I think also, now looking back, I'm so grateful that he kind of rejected me, because then it meant like I had no choice but to heal. And I did cry after, but I think I was already feeling so detached that I was just like, damn, that's crazy. And I actually like kept it pushing. Then guess who gave me a call last night? He did. He called me last night, and I think it was like midnight. I'm getting ready for bed because I had work today. I just see his name pop up and like a phone call, and my phone's on DND, so you have to call twice. So I see it and I'm just like, hello? And he's like, hey. And I'm just like, okay, casual match. And so I go like, are you okay? Because I remember at the end of our last phone call, I was just like, well, if you ever need me, I'm always here. And he was like, well, yeah, same for you. Like, if you ever need me, I'm always here. And that's why I immediately asked, like, are you okay? Like, you better not be doing anything stupid. And we spoke for like an hour, and I just kind of like, I just asked him, like, why did you call me? He was like, I don't know, I was just thinking about you. And so in that moment and during the call, I think I felt really giddy, because I was just like, did I manifest this? But I think at the same time, like now after the phone call, I'm kind of thinking like, I'm very strict now, basically. But I think my standards of love are still incredibly high, and I still do believe in love. I think love is something that you constantly put energy into. Love is energy. So whether you're willing to do that for yourself, for others, that is completely up to you. But yeah, that is everything for today. I'm also on my floor. I didn't even say this at the beginning of the video. I'm also on my floor again, because honestly, this is my favorite layout. Yeah, that's everything for today's video, and I'll see you guys soon.